Welcome back, guys. We were driving to the gym, and right before I left, I was just reading a headline on Twitter, and it said that Google was laying off a bunch of core employees to hire people from other countries like India, where the labor's cheaper. And I mean, it's pretty easy to do that now that, people started working from home. You may as well work from home in India, and it's just a lot cheaper to hire someone from there because the cost of living is lower. So the other thing is, I was thinking about an experience that I just had working with someone who I believe was from India. Um, for my business, I was, doing some website editing and I was having an issue. And so I contacted the help team for one of these apps that I was using. And this guy pops on and is so professional and so effective and quick at doing exactly what I need to do and does such a great job. And it's not like I'm paying him, right? He's just the guy that pops up when I type into the help chat that's on the app that I was using. This guy pops up, real person, obviously. I don't think we're quite there with AI yet, but he popped in and just did everything that I needed so quickly. And it was not necessarily standard stuff. I mean, it's the kind of stuff that you think, you'd ask for, and then someone would have to look and think about these things. But I mean, he just was on the ball, and there were some things that I had to do on my end. And so he recorded very quickly, just recorded videos of him doing those things or showing me how to do those things so that, and you just like me talking in the video and saying, okay, so now you go here and touch this and, click this button. And it was incredible. So I absolutely understand, where Google's coming from. Just because, I mean, I don't know. American employees lately haven't seemed to be that on the ball. Granted, this is not, it's not like a huge data set that I have. It's just one experience where I personally worked with someone who I believe was from India, and it was really good. So, Google, I mean, they're saving money on the labor, but then the labor might also be higher quality labor just because these guys, I mean, they're hustlers. Like, they're really into it. Like they're dialed in. They know what they need to do. They've spent a lot of time researching and looking into this stuff. And I mean, it's just like, maybe it has something to do with their diets. Like he just seemed so quick. It was kind of crazy how good he was. But that's, once again, just my experience, and it could be that, that's not going to be the case. But from, my understanding of things is that American employees are not quite what they used to be. They're not quite as effective. And, that's unfortunate, but that's the world that we live in today. And, if I were Google, I would still probably prefer to work with someone from the United States. Especially, there's a couple of reasons. Like, for the purposes of, since Google is dealing with a lot of data security, it's probably better that, all of that stays in the country and we're not putting all of our data, into these employees' hands. If they're not from the United States, then that might not be something that people would want. But, to each their own. If Google notices any negative effects, I'm sure they'll end up altering course. But, I mean, it seems like what they're going to get is just much cheaper labor and potentially much better labor. So that's the news of the day. And it's kind of scary to see that that's a possibility, that it can be so easily done with with what was being classified as core employees, because that means that a lot of jobs in the United States might disappear, not even due to AI, but just due to, countries outsourcing them. It already happened with manufacturing way back when. And, you know, now we've been doing a lot of digital work in the United States. Like, a lot of our products are digital products. Like Netflix is a digital service, and most of the work that is done for Netflix is, well, for one, they have to record the shows if it's a Netflix original, but then most of the work, other than the actual Hollywood recording of these shows, is just computer stuff, and that could technically be done from anywhere. And that's true for a lot of these companies. Like for Facebook, a lot of their work could be done from anywhere. X/Twitter, whatever you want to call it. Google has YouTube and Google search engine and Gmail and all that. So a lot of that obviously can be done online, and it looks like they're making the switch potentially, at least, starting to switch some employees over to cheaper areas. It's kind of surprising that the manufacturing went before the tech jobs. You would think that the tech jobs would go first because you could transmit, the data over the internet, and you could work technically from anywhere and provide this data. And manufacturing, it's like, okay, you can manufacture anywhere, but then you have to pay for all the shipping to get the product back here. And I guess, maybe shipping's cheap when you're doing it in bulk on a freighter or something, but the tech jobs, it seems like those might be the next, migration out of the US. There might not be many jobs other than, actual service-based jobs in the United States, and, over the course of the next 20 years. That might be the thing that most people end up doing if they're just doing, if they're having a job for someone else. It might just be that, because that's the toughest thing to outsource, actual service jobs where, someone comes and cleans your house. That's, maybe you could get a robot to do it, and the company could be based in another country or something, but that's the only way you're going to be able to outsource that. You're still going to need people around to do tasks like fix your car, paint your house, whatever it is. There's still going to be those kinds of jobs, and maybe there'll just be, well, here's what I'm thinking, actually. If that becomes the main type of work that's done in the United States, just work that we do for other people in the United States, then, and this is a long-running thought that I've had, and I think that I know the answer already, but the question that I keep asking is, well, what value are we then providing that will allow us to have enough wealth to purchase these manufactured goods and digital products from other countries, right? If we are the ones, if there's nothing that we're exporting, right? I assume, we still export stuff, but I feel like we definitely import a lot more. I forget the latest numbers, but it was something like $90 billion a month is our trade deficit, was, last I looked, which was like a year ago. But it's big, and the way that we fuel that, partly through debt, and then I would assume mostly through debt. We do take out a lot of debt every year too, so things aren't looking too good. I'll put it like that. From a macroeconomic perspective, unless we really get some good developments to save us, like, really good artificial intelligence and worker automation, that could really save us. But as it stands, things just don't look good. It's not making any sense. It seems like we're in an unsustainable situation, and you know, it could become sustainable if we get a bunch of robot workers. And that just, skyrockets our productivity. But aside from that, it doesn't make any sense. So, and I've never heard an explanation for how we're going to be able to just keep taking out more and more debt, and that it's never going to come back to bite us, or how we could maintain such large trade deficits and how that's not going to come back to bite us. I mean, we're already seeing the beginning of, well, I guess the beginning of it coming back to bite us, which is all the inflation that we've seen over the past 2 years now, and maybe 2 to 3 years. Time flies. And, I mean, that's real. Like, I go to the grocery store and I notice, okay, prices seem to be double what I remembered them being just a couple of years ago. And you see it in housing costs and car prices. Gas, that's kind of variable. That, doesn't seem that astounding that it's where it's at now, because I saw that before as a kid, but it's certainly high. And it seems like we need some huge innovations to come rather quickly. Otherwise, we're going to, it seems like things will just get worse. Not that things are particularly bad now. I mean, the inflation's here, but the government handed out so much money. I don't know. It's tough to say if people are really suffering. I'm not. I saved a lot of money, so it's not like, I don't want to say my quality of life has gone down necessarily. And I think that's true for a lot of people. I think that, prices went up and people just kept paying the price. They just started paying more. And I mean, where that money came from, well, the government definitely handed a lot out, but it's tough to say. I mean, what most people are doing nowadays. I don't know. I know what my situation is, but I don't know what most people's situation is. So, it's kind of odd to think about. You do hear about a lot of squatters, and there are a lot of homeless people, but have those numbers really skyrocketed? I mean, squatters probably have been skyrocketing over the past 10 years or so. I don't think that was as big of a deal 10 years ago, but are there really more homeless people nowadays than there were, 10 years ago? I'm sure that I could look that up and figure it out. I'll do that. But I don't know. The situation that we're in, it just doesn't quite seem like the kind of thing that we can keep going. It doesn't seem sustainable. We're going to need something huge to really change the economic landscape. Otherwise, I would expect to see more of what we're seeing, where Google's, laying off employees here because they're expensive, and hiring employees in India because they're cheaper and potentially better. I mean, the language barrier, that's actually a big problem. If you're an executive at Google and, you hand out some orders for, what you want done, and the employees don't quite get it right, that's a big issue, I will say. But if you're speaking, flawless English or close to it, and you've got a great work ethic and you know your stuff, you know how to code well, then, why not? It's just better. It's cheaper, potentially better, and that doesn't sound great for Americans, but I don't know. That's what we're dealing with. So I just parked, and I'm gonna look up how many homeless people we've got, and I'll put it in the description. So I'll see you guys next time. Have a great day.